Hey, what's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of the PokeTalk podcast. I think this is episode number 63. Getting your water down there?
Well, I'm trying to not to make any noise, be as discreet as possible, but I guess it's kinky noise.
Yeah. But, yeah, episode 63. What's been happening?
A lot has been happening. A lot. Got back from New York a few days ago. I was more in shape this year for that, that's for sure.
For the old Go
I was
Fest.
sore. Yeah, I was sore a little bit, but like it was a different type of sore. It was like, oh, this is concrete. I'm not used to walking on like pavement, asphalt. I'm not used to walking on this as much. But I got a good night's sleep each night, so I was mostly recovered the next day. Whereas last year, by day 7, I mean, like, I had to stretch. I'll say it like that to like be able to move fully. So I did train myself better this year, and I was a lot better in shape. So that's something I was appreciative. It was hot as balls.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I saw a bunch of creators making their videos, and yeah, it seemed like it was pretty hot.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up Saturday day, our day of Go Fest. My friend and I, we ended up going to the National History Museum. I had already seen it. Well, a good portion of it. I saw some parts I didn't see last time, so I was pretty thankful for that. But I mean, it was hot. You know, you had to seek refuge from the sun. Like certain areas were a little better, but if you're anywhere with direct contact with the sun, it was very miserable. Like luckily, you're off the river, you're off the bay there at New York with Handle Island. There was some cool moments, but anytime you're exposed to the sun, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet it was pretty toasty, especially with all the battery packs and backpacks and phones. And
Phone was overheating several times with the chargers. There's nothing you can really do about it at that heat.
yeah.
You know, you're talking in low mid 90s. I think they said it was like 100 with the heat index was with humidity and all that, which felt about right.
Yep. And we'll get into more of that, but it's been pretty hot here. I think it's supposed to be cooler this week, though. So.
It is. Today was the hottest day of the week. And from when I looked, this was a couple days ago. It was supposed to significantly cool down. So.
Yep. Yeah. Anything else going on? I've been in quite a long work stretch myself, but been grinding out some videos from Collecticon. I still have a few more to make that I want to get in there, but yeah, if you guys have been keeping up with those, I was really happy how some of those turned out. Like more of a, just a point and shoot the experience, and they were pretty funny, just us in the moment. Just opening packs and stuff. I don't know if you watched them yet, but they're pretty funny.
Yeah, I've watched a couple. I haven't gotten to that point yet because he started uploading those like the day before I was going to New York or something like that, or beginning my stretch. So I was like,
Yeah.
I haven't had a whole lot of time to sit down, honestly. Really, this afternoon's been the most I've had since well before I went to New York. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a couple big news articles since you've been gone. I guess one of the biggest is like the big baseball heist, like people
Yeah,
are
I saw
calling
that.
it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. It's
Yeah.
estimated value of $2 million worth of baseball cards in July, stolen from the Dallas card show, I think it was. Yeah.
It was smooth. Bold and smooth is how I would characterize the robbery, honestly. I mean, but it was also kind of the oversight by potentially the workers or somebody. I wouldn't necessarily say the person running it per se. I don't think it was their responsibility. But, I mean, they should be marked if they're employed, and this guy wasn't. And the guy that actually took the case and left, and he was like stacking chairs beforehand. He looked like just like a common Joe, and I mean it is what it is. Like it's bold, right? You don't think of somebody doing that, but all it takes is one. All it takes is happening once. That's all it takes, and then you're in deep shit like with this guy's in.
Yep. And then there was like two other guys I think in the background, one distracting him and another guy like taking a look out. Like it was a big coordinated effort, but I say it was big, and a lot of people are saying it's this big heist, and I mean, obviously the dollar amount, like $2 million, is huge, but like, it just seems like three guys who were just kind of smooth, and one was watching, one was kind of hey talking to the dude, and the other guy
Yeah.
just walked over and snagged him.
I mean, they took advantage of. I mean, let's be honest. So like, whenever we went to KCCon, for example, and I can't help but notice how lax some of these people are. I totally get it. It's like you assume people will do well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there was this one guy, I remember, that had like a bunch of binders you can just scroll through. He had like 8 tables spread across, I don't know, 20 feet length or something like that. So he obviously couldn't see closely everything, especially the way the tables were like positioned. And you're just kind of assuming people will be honest. Like obviously I was, and most people around me I think were too. But like all it takes is one. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and people are pretty lax. You do get the overall vibe that the hobby is super nice hobby and pretty chill,
Yeah.
which it is. But I mean, there's literally people who are not in the hobby who only go to these card shows with malicious intent. So there's plenty of times where I had a binder where, like, there's lots of people doing deals when you're sitting there going through a binder.
Hmm.
Cards might not be the highest value, so they'll let you look through it and pull out whatever you want. Especially the people that I say we kind of know, but we really only know them because we dealt with them the last couple shows. But even if it was someone like us who only knows the guy and the guy's friendly to us because they recognize us, it's like you've only interacted with us for like less than 30 minutes total beforehand.
Hmm.
So you never know like who we really are. But if we're like flipping through a binder, there's plenty of guys who wake up and want to look at a bigger card and then they get distracted. And, you know, we're obviously honest and like actually take the hobby seriously
Yeah.
and enjoy it. So we're not those people, but there's people who literally just go to the shows to like look at binders and slip cards in their pockets. So,
Well, I didn't know. I mean, I always assumed it'd be a couple because all you got to be is sleight of hand, right? That's all you got to be.
yeah.
If it's during a colder year, or if you could wear like a hoodie or something where you could easily put the card underneath your sleeve if you're fast enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just got to
Like
be
there,
smooth with it, really. Just
yeah.
smooth
And then
talker and friendly
and
and
you could also buy stuff and still rob them blind.
mm-hmm.
Like you can be bold. I mean, that bold because they're like, oh, he's buying stuff, and then just have your cards. Then just have basically, your hand in a certain way. Like just honking away, not buying anything. Almost after you spend hours, or not hours, but a long time going through it, honestly makes you look more sketch.
Yeah.
But again, people. I mean, I think there are people that are taking advantage of it in every hobby. I mean, in every city. I think though it is very few that are actually doing it.
Yeah, I always like Pokemon, it's definitely serious business nowadays, but I still kind of poke fun like at the people who like we talk to sometimes who are acting like, we're exchanging millions and millions of dollars in these like little $100 deals. It's like, guys, we're just sitting here trading cardboard, okay? Like, come on. But in a way, I mean, it has to be kind of taken more seriously as like the venue part of it because yeah, just the sheer value in these cases just gets crazy. And you'll see heritage there with like a security guy or two, just people who can like run you down if someone takes off with the card. But as far as the event security, I mean, I don't want to speak too much on it because it could something could happen in the future, but the
Mm.
security could be a lot better. There's just
Yeah,
many
I'm
times
not
like when
expect.
we were walking in, the interactions we had with security. I don't want to go into details to give anybody ideas, but it needs to be better.
It's I think the biggest thing is we've mentioned this before, kind of the naivety and inexperience you have in the hobby. I know a lot of these guys are dealing with tens of thousands, and some of these guys are dealing with six, seven figures in terms of what their revenue is. However, even with that type of experience in play, I think for a lot of these people, there's a lot of inexperience with some real world situations, um, and just overall inexperience in the business world in general. I think I'm not like, saying that these guys aren't smart. I mean, you can be smart and still kind of be inexperienced and naive, even if you're in your 30s or late 20s. I mean, that's still a thing. And I wonder if it hasn't happened yet so much within our hobby. Well, I mean, it has, but like it hasn't been such a notable moment for Pokemon within like these card shows that I think there's mostly a sense of trust. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't help but strongly sense that for KCCon. Something I actually noticed was there was a strong sense of trust, and generally speaking, I think most people mean well. Now, there's also a lot of these card places that protect themselves, right? They have it in a case, they have it in a binder, they got somebody right there. More times than not, there is somebody watching. It's actually there are only a handful of tables I would say you could actually get away with it personally,
Or something
in
we're
my opinion.
seeing more of now, which needs to be a norm, basically, is, with the success of seller point of views with the Bulbasaur, like everyone's doing a camera now, and
Yep.
it's a no brainer. Like, hey, it's a no brainer just to post it to YouTube if you don't mind editing because people love watching that stuff right now. But even if you don't, I mean, it shows people, like, people expect there to be some type of content making, so they're expecting there to be cameras at collecticons, and you can just set one up and just record everybody. And yeah, I mean, you could easily just protect yourself in that way. So I think people will definitely have that more of a norm now. It's just a no brainer. You get content, you get security all in one. Um, there's a buyer point of view. I forgot who it was, but um, literally in their point of view video, you see this woman walk up and she's like dead staring at him, and her fingers on the case are like she's trying to sneak her fingers inside the case to see if she can like chopstick a card out of there with her fingers. So it's just right there in plain sight, and people are just smooth with it. So she was sitting there fondling the case and then looking around, and she saw the camera, and then she like took her fingers out and immediately walked away. So
Ooh, where was this?
it wasn't Kansas City, but it was the CollectCon before, I think. I'll send you the
Whose stream
video.
was this? Yeah, whose stream? I'm curious.
I think it was Parkmon. Let me look it up here because now I'm curious. But I think it was Parkmon
Well, and
v.
I bet you'll see. Now, I will say this: Pokemon, since it tends to lean younger, also there's a lot of tech innovation savviness you see with Pokemon. I'm not saying you don't receive it at these sports card shows too, but generally speaking, I think it's a major oversight by both the owner and the employees that how much money's in that case. There should always be somebody's hands, or that should always be in somebody's line of sight, always. You know how we are with our stuff, right? We are like super, super paranoid. And like you have more stuff than I do. And then this guy had more stuff than you than that. It's kind of like an oversight. Well, your
Yeah,
shit kind of needs to be handcuffed to somebody, or you need to have somebody there watching it at all times. I mean, I'm not saying like, yeah, it's still the person doing the deed, right? Is the perp, but that's a lot of money to have without anybody watching it or having it break down somewhere.
yeah, and like what I want to get with a story is like you basically it comes down to just your own initiative. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure this card show that these all got stolen from was in a Marriott um event center. So it was a nice place for the event, but the security for this is literally probably just hotel staff. And they do these events all the time. They don't care if it's a card show event, or they don't care if it's, a worship Joe Dirt clan or whatever. They're just there just to host the event and host the
Yeah.
space and guide you to where to go. They're not wanting to do security on that level. So maybe it's on the card shows themselves to invest in a little more security, maybe a third party, which I think we definitely will see more of.
Next year. Yeah.
Yeah, or even at Collecticons. I know the National Sport Card Convention or National was either this weekend or next weekend. Can't remember. Um, but yeah, I'm sure they really stepped up their game after all this happened. So yeah, I think we'll see more in the space, which is nice. But yeah, it's a no brainer. Something's bound to happen, and right now, I mean, if you go to any show, the security is pretty obvious that it needs to be better. But in a way, a lot of people aren't bringing like this amount of money or this amount of their collection into these shows. The average person is just going there with a few $100 and just buying a couple cool things and leaving. But we are seeing the niche of the niche in the hobby again, but it does need to be a little better. So just take it in your own hands. My little
Yeah.
carrying case, we met a guy there who was like, um, he saw all the cards that I brought with me to CollectCon. And he's like, "Oh man, what do you do? Just never leave. This case never leaves your side." And yeah, it never did. I brought it with me everywhere I went. Anytime I set it down on a vendor booth, it was directly in front of me, and the cards I was looking at, I was setting on top of my bind or my thing, so I knew it was right there, not leave my sight. I didn't ever set it off to the side. If I set it off on the ground, it was in my Collecticon bag between my legs where I could feel it. Like I was, some people call me paranoid, but that's what you gotta do. There's people who will follow others around just waiting for any slip up. So you never know. You got to be prepared for everything. It's sad that you have to, but yeah, there's literally people just watching constantly. But yeah, that's a very still developing story because
Just
PSA,
happened this weekend.
yeah, PSA also just released a statement, I think either yesterday or the day before, that they deactivated the certs. And these are like huge cards. There's like 3 Mickey Mantles in there. Like it was big cards.
I'm glad the guy knew the cert numbers. I guess. I mean, I would if if you were that experienced. I mean, it seems like that's no brainer on the business end, and I assume that's clearly what he did. He had the certs, or he could go to the listings he went to and be like, "This is it. This is it." For people he bought them from, and
Yeah. I think it was
that's
his inventory too. I don't even know if the show even started at that point. Like they were
it
just
looked like
setting
it
up.
didn't. Yeah, it looked they were setting up, and it. I mean, again, oversight, major oversight.
But yeah. Yeah, they reported the certs to PSA, and this has been big news around the hobby as a whole. So PSA has actually deactivated all of those certs of those cards, and I'm pretty sure they announced that they sent out like scans and identifying factors of every single one of the Mickey Mantles for sure, but a lot of the other big cards, they sent those out to like other grading companies. So they're like, hey, if you see this Mickey Mantle that falls into this range and it has these very specific identifying factors, like just keep an eye out for it. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm sure there's like a huge like investigation and police and everything involved at this level of money, but maybe that's why they did it. But it was cool of them to, announce that they're working together with CGC and everybody, that they're trying to keep an eye out for these cards, even if it's required by law. I mean, I,
Balau.
I guess it's cool that they're working together, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, other news. I mean, there's not a whole lot really. There were
No.
some set leaks, but I don't really care to go into those unless you want to.
Well, there was which card was it? Hold on. I had it up. We still don't even have all of the cards out. By the time this episode goes live, the set will have released, but as of now, as of recording, the set hasn't officially released. So there's still like 60% of the illustration rares and the secret illustration rares that haven't been released yet. But I just wanted to mention because I think it's a gorgeous card. The um, Terrapagos EX. How often have they done like a rainbow border before? So I feel like one of the first times ever.
Is that the one with all the like stones?
And color,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. A lot of people were sharing that um, when they released that image, and they said, "Oh, the crystal cards are coming back," and it does kind of look like a crystal card, but
yeah,
I think that's kind of that Pokemon's thing is with all the stones. I haven't played the DLC of Scarlet and Violet, so
yeah. No, it is
apologies.
for yeah. I mean, it's gorgeous. Like this is a card I definitely want at some point. I don't know what it's going to be. It's a secret rare. Um, so my guess is at least 30 to 40 bucks, I would think. But
Yeah, yeah, they're still rocking, and they're doing a good job like sprinkling it out like here and there, not
yeah.
too much at once.
Well, I think we're both waiting for the big set, the fourth quarter set to drop at some point, and I think that's going to be. It seems like Pokemon has been last couple of years. It seems like they've been doing decent overall. Like they obviously had a lot of bangers leading up to the end of the last era, but it seems like they're now going towards a trend of having one bomb set a year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe having like another one in like mid-year for like a special summer set. But one really stonk set, I guess, if you will. 151 being
Stonks.
Stone. You had Crown Zenith, and then you had 151. And now there's this potential Team Rocket one. I don't know. It seems like we might be seeing a trend here.
Yeah, yeah, it's getting exciting. Let's see if there's any other news that I had. I had Creatures discontinued an Instagram account for textless
Oh, I saw that.
illustrations. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was a really cool Instagram account where they just posted the card without any text whatsoever, just to showcase the artwork. But they announced that it will be shutting down, which is kind of weird. Rather than them just shutting it down on July 31st. So I guess if you want any of those cards, go screenshot them. I guess maybe that's why they're giving people warning. I have no idea. It's weird. Um, but they
Why does
said,
Pokemon do what they do?
yeah, they said they plan to post updates on their official social media accounts from now on. So it seems like that's. I don't know if that was an official account from them, but it just wasn't labeled as one. Or maybe they just trying to cut all the extra loose ends and just consolidate all their socials. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But it's unclear if they will continue to post them. But they kind of gave the hint like this was just like a little side account and they're just shutting down. So that's kind of weird. There is a new TCG accessory lines in the Pokemon Center featuring Moonbreon and some ghost type Pokemon like Gengar, nice little Pikachu in the darkness, some play mats and deck boxes and stuff, which are pretty cool. There's a Gengar deck box playmat and sleeves, which has like heavily features Gengar and Haunter and Ghastly, but it has like Sableye and Chandelure on there too, and some others. Really cool looking sleeves. All the sleeve collectors will be excited. And then Pokemon Japan is reprinting sets, just like they did
Mm-mm.
with 151. I think that's why we haven't heard much lately. With these reprints, they were focusing on reprinting 151 more than ever. And now that we've seen 151, now we're seeing all the other stuff. A lot of Japan's Pokemon centers have restocked Triple Beat and Raging Surf, and probably hitting other retailers this week. But yeah, a lot of stuff getting
Well,
reprinted on the Japanese side.
yeah, and I was kind of thinking this, and I was like, they're because when we went to the KC Con, they just was like a week prior. They just the reprint for 151 was starting to hit shelves, and I was like, there was a disparity between the English and Japanese because of that price. Obviously, the condition played another role, but like I feel like it's only a matter of time before we see that announcement because 151 isn't even a year old. I
Yeah.
mean, what is it? 8 month? Well, I guess it's like 9, 10 months old now.
No,
Um,
it's right.
I'm
It's just at a year, a little over.
I thought it was in September. Well, anyways,
It was like it like just came out like at last year's Collecticon because I
I'm
remember
talking about the
boxes.
English one.
Oh
I'm talking about
yeah, I'm not
yeah,
sure
the
on
English. I'm
English.
pretty sure was September. Um, let's
I
see,
just remember booster
but
boxes at last year's Collecticon for Japanese was
September
200.
22nd, 2023. Yeah. So because of that, I was like, they're gonna want to restock before the fourth quarter, before the holiday season. They're gonna want that on the shelves as much as possible, in addition to whatever hot new set that they have. They're gonna want both of those around for the holiday season. So I'm really hoping that we get our cards back, before they make an announcement. I say we got less than 30 days before they make an announcement on the English side.
Yeah. Yeah, so speaking of that, we did send off our Collecticon cards to PSA. We did do the TCG special, which was $14.99, and I was looking this up before we started, but we have a 45 business day turnaround. That's on 200 or less, so most of our stuff went in there. But we did have some Charizards that we had to send into the value tier for $24.99, and that is still 45 business days, unfortunately. So they've been doing stuff a little quicker though. Like I think they still have been getting orders back ahead of schedule for most people. So that's a good thing at least. Still in order prep though, so we'll see how it
I
goes.
mean, we're only on like day 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And getting them processed in the system and on the line to, get going is the part that takes the longest. So,
well, and I thought, I didn't realize I figured since you were paying more, it was a quicker service, but I guess not. It's just for if it's over $500 or over $200. That
yeah,
sucks.
and 45 is like the baseline. Like the only
Yeah.
reason it's the same, and it is like it gets shorter with every increase, but value is like the lowest tier, and the bulk and the TCG bulk, those are only available to Collectors Club, so they still have the same turnaround. All those bottom ones and all the specials have the same turnaround, but if you go up from the value, then it does get shorter.
I think
So,
it took about 6 weeks for us to get the last order back. Does that sound right?
yeah, about right. Yeah, it surprised me how quick
So,
it was.
yeah, because I remember we got it back the end of May. I think or no, early end of May, or it was like the very end of May is when we got it back. And I think we sent it off mid-April. Is that right?
I think so. I'd have to look at the order sheet, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Even if it was early April, that's still, 7, 8 weeks tops. So, I mean, we should see it. We could see it as early as the end of this month, but realistically, it's going to be the first or second week of August.
Yeah.
But then we should get them almost back to back. It should be like at the same time.
Yeah, theoretically, yeah. I sent them all in the same box, so turnaround time wise, they should all be there exact. So we'll see.
Well, let's see. We're kind of that we have the timing working against both of us because there is a lot of 151. I know. I think I would say probably half of my stuff was 151 that I ended up buying. So it's like a reprint announcement in the next 30 days could really, really hamper those potential prices. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But with that, I guess we can talk a little bit more about GoFest and kind of, I guess that'll be it for the rest of the
Yeah.
episode. So, yeah, I guess main thing you said, it was pretty hot. Did you, I guess you flew there. You can kind of talk
Yep.
about your flying experience and all that.
Well, going to there, it was smooth. I mean, it was incredibly smooth. The flight wasn't until like 11-ish or 11:30, and I mean, we ended up getting there by around 5, I think. It might have been actually around 6, but because we had to stop in O'Hare, and then we went from O'Hare um to New York, and I mean, it was pretty smooth as far as getting there is concerned. We got to our hotel, and the first day we didn't really do too much. It was like getting our bearings, getting everything we needed, got some groceries. We kind of saw some of the sites a little bit, but then the next day, really, that was before the Go Fest started and before July 4th. I kind of went on a Bob Dylan musical tour. I know Nathan knows I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan. I went to all the spots. Some of the ones still existed. Other ones kind of are condemned or became something else. Saw where he lived for several years. That was pretty cool. In his first area where he played. But after that, I actually hit up a card shop called Bleecker Trading. They're pretty chill. I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping for a little more, but they had a wide variety of stuff. But I guess going to Yeti Gaming, I kind of gotten accustomed to it. Just being a big store, right? Big TCG card store. Well, they weren't on TCG Player. I noticed. Like that's probably not a good sign. And yeah, there really wasn't a whole lot. There I actually have some packs that I haven't even bought or haven't even opened, and I did decide to get some mementos and bought the Shadowless starter trio, so Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they were in okay condition. They're only I think that they probably overpaid. They were $5 a piece. I was like, I'm not even gonna check these prices. I kind of want to have some mementos to bring back with me. So I got that trio. I got a few Brilliant Stars packs. I might start opening those here soon. Actually, I got about 5 or 6 packs.
Nice.
And then yeah, then there was July 4th with the fireworks. That was pretty fun. Kind of chaotic there for a little bit because they changed it this year. And apparently, probably the best place to view it was one either paying to get a better seat. Apparently, I didn't realize that was a thing, or going on to the Jersey side to see it because it was crowded as hell.
Oh, yeah,
Like
I
there was
bet.
no, there was like no, like I had a friend ask me how many people you think are here, and I bet a half. I was like a 500,000 easy. Um, I mean there
Like
was like
just
no
in your
bathrooms to
area.
use. Well, I mean just in the whole general area. And I was
Oh,
like,
I
yeah,
bet
no
there's way more than
bathrooms.
that. I bet, I
Um,
bet,
par-
I bet people travel. Well, I mean, people travel New York
yeah.
area, but I'm sure people travel even the night multiple hours away just for that. Probably every year.
Well, apparently, I'm sure it's not true for everybody, but I couldn't help notice on the day of the 4th, our hotel was in Times Square, like right in the middle of it. It was just like, or I guess technically like a few blocks away from what is considered Times Square, but that it was in that general area, like in a very central located part of Manhattan between Times Square and downtown. And I mean, honestly, it was pretty quiet on July 4th. Like it was kind of crazy. I was like during the day, I was like, damn, it's like nobody. Especially the last few days, it was just like crowded, like everywhere. Even during the week. And I mean, it wasn't even terribly crowded, but like you can just tell like there wasn't the same amount of people. So I think a lot of local New Yorkers in the area get away, and a lot of visitors are coming in.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
think it kind of, I think it kind of evens out with like the actual people.
Yeah, I think the people who live there kind of like could go down to Times Square for New Year's Eve. Like the people who live there, kind of crazy if you go down there. So it's
Yeah,
just
I
like
mean,
a
I have a
touristy
friend.
thing.
I mean, I had a friend that went there, and after years, I mean, I love New York as a city. It's so It has so many awesome things, but like for a variety of reasons, they don't have really. It's hard to get a hold of one, a place to go to the restroom, and two, to a place to fill up your water.
Yeah, a lot of people that I've known who've kind of been over there, live there. It's like it's almost worth it to buy like a ticket or a spot in a bar down that way to like because a lot of the bars and everything they'll sell tickets for the events, and it's worth it just to have like a place where you could go to the bathroom and like, but to actually get down there in Times Square where everyone's standing, it just seems like it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to deal with it personally after kind of experiencing just getting from places. I mean, I'm sure there's a bottleneck, and there's a lot of areas like that area is huge. To be in Times Square too, to be able to get a good view. I feel like is not that hard. You don't have to be up front to the right there at Times Square. Like it's a huge street, and it's at the end of the street. I mean, you can get a good view
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Well, and then like the ball itself is not like it's kind of tiny way up on a building.
Yeah, I mean it's up there. Like when you're there, like I mean, even now you can see it. It's up there still, which is pretty cool. When you go there, say, "Oh, hey, there's the ball right there."
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and then was Friday. We end up my friend and I we hit up some of the stores: Nintendo store, Lego store, Disney store. There was he ended up gonna hit up a few more for one of the New York gift stores, like just to get a bunch of gifts for people. And Disney store was a disappointment. I'm gonna go ahead and say it.
Oh yeah. Have any
Yeah.
Lorcana there?
At first, I missed it, so I technically went up to Disney store. I think on Wednesday. Um, it was like Wednesday morning. I'm going on my own, and I went again with my friend, and I missed it. But I was like, oh, I looked, I checked up by the register, I didn't see it. The reason why I missed it was because there was this wall, like this column, and on the other side of it, it was Lorcana, and it was directly in front of the register. So I never went up that far.
Oh
But they had, and then it was like in plexiglass too.
yeah.
Not all of it, but like the troves were.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
saw a
I
lot
didn't
of
get any.
places were getting some reprints of that too lately.
I
But
mean, there was the Ursula's Return or whatever it was. It was that set, and there was some of the not Floodborne, but the set three, the one with
Inklings.
yeah, Into the Inklands. That's it. Yeah, and I was like, I looked at what the cards were, and I was like, I don't really feel like spending money on that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got a little bit of everything, like from each store. Yeah, I got a Mickey. I heart New York Mickey plushie that's about 24 inches long. Well, who cares? I got
Normie.
a yeah, I know. And I got a Mario plushie with two Yoshis by his side, a Columbia blue one and a green one. And I only got two Pokemon plushies, a Lapras and a Starmie. The Nintendo store is actually pretty neat.
Started to say,
I'm
does
not gonna
the Disney or I think the Nintendo store would be cooler than the Disney.
Nintendo's pretty fun because they have a Pokemon section, they got a Zelda section, Kirby section, Mario section, and it's like there's not much to it. And then they have like all the games of the Nintendo brand, like all the systems and plexiglass. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Like you like that. I took a few photos of that because that's so cool. Seeing all the ones you grew up with, all the OG ones, and then all the modern ones. It was just really really cool. And the Lego store was fun. They had to witness because they had like Empire State Building and the One World Tower all made out of Legos, like where you can take a photo of it. They had Batman where you could take a photo of it. Like that, it was small but compact, and they actually that place impressed me the most. I'll say it like that for how small it was.
Yeah.
They had a lot of options to be able to buy, and it was like cool different sets. Whereas like Disney Store, it was essentially all plushies more or less, with some like shirts, and that was it. I was expecting more of a merch area for shirts, and I was very disappointed that they really didn't have it.
Hmm. That's something I could really get into is like Legos. I just don't have the access or the will to have like a second hobby. But yeah,
Well,
Legos are a whole new world of
and
depth in the
some of their
hobby.
sets aren't cheap. They aren't cheap, and but I will say it is so cool to be able to like, oh, hey, you want the Batcave, or you want like the Death Star, or I forget what else was there. Oh, it was the Avengers. They had an Avenger HQ that you could put together, and it was like $700, something like that. And
Huh.
they had something else from Star Wars that was really really cool. It might have been a destroyer or something like that. That was like really really expensive because it was like so intricate. And I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool because that's legit. Like that would take you hundreds of hours to complete a set like that.
Yeah. There's a there's a giant Death Star and like they make mounts for these things and they take up like dining room tables. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's the stuff that I'd be building if I got into Lego. So it's like I need to just limit
have a space
myself.
for it. Honestly, you need a space for it too.
Yeah. And then there's a Millennium Falcon, giant Millennium Falcon. There's a bunch of cool Star Wars ones.
Yeah, they had that one there too. That might have been the one that was like $800. It was like incredibly intricate and huge.
Yeah. But yeah, after the sightseeing, how'd the event itself go? Do you buy
So
like how do the tickets work too? Do you buy a ticket
so
like online and then it's linked to your account or something or
Yeah, so you can buy it through your account. There's like an events gameplay through your account, and it takes you to like an entire page through your account, and it takes you to like a Niantic site, and it's like, oh, you can add, here's who wants this ticket. Oh, King Pippo Rick, and I'm gonna get it for my friend and this friend, and just go ahead and buy it, and then they'll eventually get the pass once you get through the transaction. But through each ticket, you can have your add-ons. Now, it never used to be like this. Starting in, I think it was like 2019 might have been the first year they started doing it. Um,
with the
but not the first year
add-ons?
that it was like a raid add-on and a hatch. It was a raid and a hatch add-on. It was either 2019 or 2022. I couldn't remember. But it was basically you had super incubators and it was a much faster hatching distance. And I'll tell you right now, the if I'm probably not getting the hatch thing again because it is frustrating how quick you hatch eggs. And when you're in New York and you have 5 eggs about to hatch and you're like trying and like it's in the top of the hour and the unknowns are spawning and then you get 5 eggs hatching and you're like, damn it, I can't click on the unknowns. And most of the unknowns haven't been spawning for one reason or another because the game is like that, and that's just not Niantic. But anyways, back to the whole thing with like the actual cost. But then now you can have it to where it's the raid add-on, it's the egg add-on, it's you can play the city gameplay Friday and Sunday, so you have your day where you go for GoFest, and then you have the option to be able to play city gameplay the other 2 days. And let me tell you, anywhere you go, you want that city gameplay both days because it's arguably more efficient than being inside the park. Most years it has been that way. Now, this year they changed it a little bit. They had more stops this year, a lot more stops this year than they did last year. And that was a big thing last year. It made it difficult with the unknowns because that's where a lot of them were spawning on was the incense and lures.
Yeah. That's what I was
So
wondering too, and it's kind of funny like the experience that Niantic doesn't mess with the most like is the better one, but it seems like they're making it better.
well, it's changed. It's a little bit different every year. Like it really is. And it's mostly the same, but it's a little bit different. Like they learned last year about how to organize the playing area. Last year they ended up having to create a second walkway because there was only one walkway to the north part of the gameplay in the south part. So what happens when you get several thousand people trying to go through an area that's about 20 feet wide? Well, you're going to get a bottleneck. And that
Yeah.
happened. That happened last year, and they ended up having to basically taking through an underpass to be, so then like basically you can't go through the street, or they start directing traffic. Like, okay, you can go, you can go. That's what they end up doing last year. But actually, so the day gameplay is incredible. Like with the amount of spawns and stops in New York, if you had your Palkia Origin Form special, I forget the name of the his special task thing he does, but anyways, it increases
Like Space Rand or
your
Special Rand or something.
yeah, Space Ram. That's what it is. Basically, it doubles your distance where you can get spawns and stops. Well, that's pretty clutch when everything has a boosted shiny rate, and you're especially talking about unknowns, especially the spawn rate in New York. I mean, it was incredibly clutch. It was so clutch. There's no other way to play GoFest other than using that the whole time.
Yeah.
Like if you ever go to an event, even GoFest Global, if you couldn't afford or you weren't able to go towards the actual Go Fest, because it's the best time to use it. There's no better time you're going to have the shiny rate with the many things that are going to be shiny. Then it's best to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got multiple shiny unknowns because of it, and a lot of other shinies, and I was using it all as well. And that one didn't have it because I didn't play during that day that they were available in raids. So I was able to see firsthand the difference between my account and this account, and it was, in addition to being, this account is on an older phone, so it wasn't loading up as much as it should. So I would say the alt was getting 60% less spawns than me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like,
So the alt didn't have like a ticket or anything.
no, I bought one for the alt. I
Oh,
bought
gotcha.
both, but I realized I'm gonna be better prepared with the alt next time. I didn't realize until the day of I didn't have he didn't have a special move. The alt didn't have a special, the Palkia with a special move, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize that. So now I have about a year to be able to deal with that, because there's whispers of it being in New York again. Now it's just whispers, but if it is, I'm I'm probably only going to be going there for Friday and Saturday whole days and leave Sunday. If it is in New York, because I don't want to spend any more money than I have to going to New York for the third time.
Yeah.
Um, like I talked about potentially going to Europe, but that's probably too expensive to be honest with you. At least for right now. So essentially, I got to be very efficient, and that's playing two accounts, full spatial rands, and having them both on the same day, which I didn't do this year. I had them on opposite days, thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking we could go on the other day, but then we were so worn out by the time Sunday hit, we weren't interested in doing that.
Just kind of done with it.
Yeah, so now I missed 4 hours doing that. So next year I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have the double distance, so I should have everything I need within 2 days because of
Mm-hmm.
that. Because the amount of spawns I'm going to have compared to last year with that Space Ran move is going to be pretty ridiculous. But anyways, we ended up getting there about an hour later, because last year it was kind of disappointing at the top of the hour. Well, this year, just as Niantic would have it, it was best to be in the park during the unknowns because there were so many more stops. But it is what it is. It was hot though, and we knew it was going to be hot, and we both knew we had to make ourselves last as long as possible, and we knew if we were there at 9 a.m., we were going to be done by like 5.
Yeah.
And we end up going through it. I ended up getting something to eat. I hit up one at the food truck. I didn't usually do that. I was like, it's going to be a long day. I got to be well hydrated and well fed. But I
Gotta
mean, it
get it
was it
all
was
in.
still fun. I mean, it was still pretty fun. I mean, I every year it's a little bit different. It feels like there's less people involved. But, I mean, but it's crowded. I mean, there's everybody there. So I mean, enough people still go to these things.
Yeah, I feel like it's coming back a little bit. Like everyone stopped playing Go, obviously, and then you had the diehards, and then you had the people who played hard in the beginning, like me, who like came back casually, and then now I feel like it's taking off again. Like just more people in general are getting into it. Like I know a lot of the TCG and YouTube creators that I watch in the hobby are all like mention like playing Pokemon Go, and you see them on pretty often. So it's kind of cool to see. It's just kind
Well,
of becoming like a normal, casual thing again.
Pokemon Go has introduced enough stuff in the last couple of years that it's really facelifted the dynamic of the game. It's you and I know what the game looked like when it first came out. I mean, it is night and day difference. It like they talked about it when Go came out, but it truly was a better version of the game.
Yeah.
Like it was you can tell it was very rough around the edges, not much to do. Now you have so much to do, and I think they're still going to add a few more things.
Hmm.
Like I don't think that they're done, and I think they're going to do that before they increase the level cap, which I think they're going to do next year. But that's a whole other story. Next year or early 2026. But I mean,
Have they said
it's
anything
still
about increasing the level cap again or no?
no. It was 4.5 years, I think, or no, it was five and a. Wait, I think it might have been 5.5 years or 5 years or something like that between when they increased when the game started to when they increased the level cap. So if we take that math, 2026 sometime should be when they do it, and 2026 coincides with the 10th anniversary of Pokemon Go and the 30th anniversary of Pokemon.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel like it is a no-brainer. I know they've made it to where it's much between 40 and 50 is much more significant. I understand that, but they made it with all these XP and all these events and everything else. It seems like by 2026 it would be time because it's not quite there yet, but level 50 is starting to get to the point. I feel like we're in like 2018, 2019 territory with the amount of level 50s we have compared to level 40s. And I give it another 2 years, I think it's going to be time. I really do. Um, that's
Yeah.
why,
It's
I
hard to
mean,
tell though. Like a lot of people who are playing hardcore now though, who haven't been playing, I feel like a lot of them are still like 45 to 48, like 45 to 50 range. But a lot of those people have taken, like, have only gotten back into it like the last couple years.
yeah.
But or if they increase it, maybe they don't make it like XP based to just be like these hard challenges or something. I don't know, but
Well, I assume it's going to include everything. Um, a lot of people talked about if they followed the XP formula, you need around 700 million. I'm just under that. I'm gonna get that in the next couple months. And then after that, my focus and it's kind of already starting to shift to getting the platinum medals because it's gonna be at least 55 platinum medals. It's gonna require. I'm at 53, about to have 54 soon. And if I would grind PvP medals, I'd be at 56. Like I'm not really worried about the medal count per se. The thing I'm worried about is they're gonna make something with the routes, at least platinum. I'm nowhere near that, or at least gold. They're gonna make something with the buddies. I'm not nowhere near that. I'm kind of worried about that. You have to prepare them to do it. Anything that evolves, especially, you're gonna have to prepare that it's gonna be on the table. That includes the Vivian. That includes it asking you to evolve all 17. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm not saying it would.
I've
I'm
been
not saying it
working on
would,
that
but
and I've almost got that done. But that's something I've been
well,
working on since I've gotten back into it, which has been a couple of years now.
yeah. I'm just saying that's one. I'm probably just gonna dump 1,800 hair candy. Honestly, that's what
Yeah.
I'm gonna do, and then I'm just gonna evolve each one. But I'm going to be able to like again. It's all
It's
going
not
to
too
be
bad though. Like just
ready.
every time you open, you can like click the post it and then click off. But the buddy one, yeah, I can train like maybe two buddies at the same time, but it is just so monotonous. Like,
Some people say they can do the max, and I'm like, dude, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do it.
yeah, because what is it, like 200 buddies or something you could
And
do?
I'm assuming you're gonna need gold, which is 100. I
Yeah,
don't think it's gonna ask for platinum, but I think it is gonna ask for gold, and I'm only at 12 right now, and I've been like I never did that, and it's starting to show, and that needs to become a focus of mine, and I know it does. Same with routes because I want to be. There's a good chance I'll be in school when they increase the level cap. So I want to have all that crap ready to where I can just press evolve. I don't have to grind that candy for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is preparing for the long haul, essentially, and preparing for all those evolves, male and female. Like I'm gonna presume both the might have to evolve. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. Seriously. And then so because that actually got me caught up. That got me last time was when you hit level 43. It says you had to evolve an EV into an Umbreon and EV into an Espeon. Well, I had a I came to a grinding halt because one I didn't have EVs ready, and two I had to wait until the nighttime as well. So that's 20 kilometers. I was like, shit, I don't
Uh-huh.
have this. Thankfully I did have one already ready, and I had to hurry up and walk 10 kilometers. So I ended up having to grind that out.
I mean, you're
But
also
anyways,
someone who wants to get there as quick as possible and trying to be
yeah.
like the first, but
Well, I don't think I'm. To be honest with you, I don't think it's going to happen this time because the person that I beat out by about a week for level 50, she's now retired, and there's no way in hell I work full time, right? And if I'm working full time and go to school, there is no way in hell I can beat her. Like
yeah.
there just isn't. So it is what it is. But the thing that's been my saving grace is my XP and having everything ready, ready to go. That's going to potentially allow me to go quicker because I'll have everything ready, have everything hit. I just got to do whatever it says.
And then also at the end of the day, I mean, you still have rampant spoofers who are going to beat everybody
Yep.
there anyway, so
Well,
it's not that big of
spoofers.
a deal, really.
Spoofers aren't. There are some hardcore spoofers. There are. I'm not saying there aren't, but most of the spoofers now, it's about the shiny thing, like the shiny checking.
Yeah.
So like there are several people who I long thought were spoofers, and then I ended up being proved right. It's just because of how much they were getting shinies. I was like, I never see them out and about. This is before I stopped playing. As like I still played it a lot. I was like, man, I never see these people out and about ever. And
Yeah.
we were talking over the course of a year, right? And I was like, something seems off. And then I ended up being right. It's like you're just literally on your phone, you using a joystick, just shiny checking. You can spoof to Japan or some cluster spawn locally, and then
I
go to
mean,
this
it's even
plus.
more sophisticated than that. Like, I was watching these dudes, like, I mean, you can basically teleport
You
anywhere,
can, but
auto
you gotta be careful
walk,
about that.
and you can literally block non shiny. So if you're in New York or something and see all those spawns, you can like literally tap as fast as you want those Pokemon, and it won't even encounter the Pokemon if it's shiny. So like, there's that, and I'm pretty sure, like, just by this dude's video, he was basically looking at it because, you know, little story about myself. Like when I sold my 40 account back before the level increase, I think I sold that for like $1,000, and now you can buy like level 50 accounts for $1,000 or less. And so this guy was basically cracking into like all these eBay stores who have all these shinies for sale for like any shiny you want for like $5 basically. And he checked out the program. Yeah, you can literally shiny check rapid fire as fast as you want. You can turn on quick catch, so you can like literally click on a Pokemon, throw a ball, and get thrown out of the encounter. And you can guarantee excellent throws, so that's like 1k XP every throw. If it's a double XP event, 4,000 XP every like 2 seconds. So it's just crazy, like the amount of time it takes, or lack of time it takes, to grind an account up. And there's just like there's discords of people that just freaking, I guess the one he was showing you had to be like a member of to like get the unknown spawns or get the coordinates for unknowns, but people would just do these raid trains and just go from raid to raid in New York, in Japan, wherever they wanted. It's just crazy to see. Like,
Well, at this point, it's pretty clear that they're never going to do anything to bust spoofers because ultimately it affects their bottom dollar at this point. So if they did do something a little bit like 4 or 5 years ago, but that's we've when the pandemic hit and the remote raid passes became a thing, that kind of threw everything out the window because the remote raid passes and their tickets that they do to sell events are now the primary source of income. Yes, I know a lot of it is coming from their bread and butter hardcore players. I understand that, but
I guarantee
ultimately,
most of it comes from hardcore players and spoofers just buying all the stuff in the
well,
online
I
store.
was I was about to say a lot of it. They're your hardcore dependable players, your players that are consistently spending, I don't know, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, all the way up to $1,000 a month. Those are and there's thousands of those people, tens of thousands of people around the world doing that. Those are making a lot of money, and then they're ticket events. But now there are some hardcore spoofers that play just as much as hardcore players legit do, and they're just spending all this money on remote raid passes.
Yeah, I would argue that though that group of people are more because they can just sit at home and you don't even have
Well,
to
there's
be on a
there's a
PC
limit. There's a
anymore.
limit. There's a limit on your remote raid passes in a day outside of certain events. So I,
But you don't need them;
I
you just spoof there.
well, if you chose that route, yeah. But I mean, I'm talking about it's the premium raid passes are much less cheaper.
Yeah,
But I do know spoofers are a certain amount, and I don't know what percentage it is, but it's enough to where if you did something about it, you would lose a sizable amount of your revenue. By sizable, I would say around 10%. That's what I think.
oh, I would say way more than that. I'd
I
say
don't.
like 40, 50%, maybe
No,
more than that.
I don't. I don't think it's that significant. I really don't.
You underestimate
There.
how lazy people are,
I
especially
know.
when it comes to
I don't.
games and pay to win.
I don't think it's that significant. I really don't. I do believe there's also you have a lot of hybrid players, players that do play legit but also spoof. There's a lot of those players nowadays. It's I know it seems weird, but it's true. Like I personally know a bunch locally that are like that. I'm not going to say names or a bunch of people that turned out to be that. And I was like, really? They spend money on the game. Yeah, I just don't think it's as much as because I think most of the people don't care enough to spoof that much to go out and cheat that much. I think if you're hardcore enough to learn all that, learn how to do it, learn what you need, go through all the process, risk getting your account banned, whatever. I think you're already in the 99 percentile of hardcore, not hardcore, but people interested in it, right? I think most people that are playing it aren't doing that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's like sometimes I was in this Discord there for a while because like the reason why I'm casual, it's like not only am I not wanting to spend a lot of money on the game, but any money I did spend, I would buy the remote raid passes. And so there for a while, which I still do it from time to time, I'll be in Discords where it's like it's basically a giant group of people who just add each other and invite you to remote raids. So I don't know if they're spoofing or not, but the raids jump around quite a bit because there's so many people. So it's like it's whatever for me. I'll just use the raid passes. They're helping me out, so it's whatever.
Usually those servers are global servers. People from every country are in there, and it's people who need help with the raid boss. Or some people actually do it because they want to like help out. That's how they make friends. Whatever.
Yeah,
But generally speaking, because I've participated in those too, but it's people from all over the world, and a lot of times, rarely is it like level 50 players. It's like level 38 or level 39 or low 40s. It seems like that's the levels of the people sending it out, and I really don't use them anymore, mainly because I don't raid hunt shinies anymore because it's a money pit. I haven't done it since Shiny Unknown U in 2022, or 2021 because it is a money pit. Every time they have a shiny, oh, here you go, here's $100. No, I'm not doing that anymore.
yeah.
I haven't until Go Fest. I was spending an average of $40 a month on it, and Go Fest, I do go hard. Like I do spend a lot of money, including global Go Fest. But then I'll go back down to like $40 a month, and that'll probably be the case until, well, we'll see what the Ultra unlock.
We'll see what
Not convinced.
happens. Yeah.
We'll see. I'm just saying. I spend money when it's worth spending money on within the game. I know what's coming. I played this game since the beginning. I know what's coming. I know when you're going to get more shinies, when it's going to be worth your time to put more money in. Essentially, it's like the money in to shinies and rewards, obtained. And like Go Fest, I didn't say the amount I got. Well, guess how many shinies I got on my account, on just mine,
How much?
115. And I got another 50 or 40 or 50, whatever, on the alt. And I got shafted. I'll tell you what, shafted on the shiny rates too. I'm just saying the amount of money spent to rewards earned is so much worth it. And then I got another 40 shinies, I think, on Global Go Fest, and I worked the whole day for the first half. I mean, I think it did all right. That's what I'm saying. The amount of money and time you put in is worth it with rewards you get. Like it's not worth putting 20 hours in a week to try to get a shiny and you get shut out. I've had enough of that shit. It happens, right?
Yeah, or
It's not worth
specific
it.
dragon 3-star raids that are going to be a community day in a couple years.
Or yeah, like with Jangamo, like
Yeah.
ever since what was it Garchomp, we've learned what it does. The special release, the pseudo legendary next year, just before Go Fest, they'll have its community day.
Yeah.
We know what they'll do now, and it makes it very very cool because you can predict it now. But they're also starting to slowly slow down on the release of shinies. I can't help but notice this year, because there's like what 1,000 Pokemon, 1,050 Pokemon maybe, or is there no
Well,
Golden
and
and
there
Go
for
is
a
a
while too, they were basically, back in the prime days, every 2 weeks was a new event.
yeah.
Sometimes they would overlap, so every week there was like multiple new shinies or shiny
Yep.
families.
Yep. And they kind of got crazy because now they're releasing it. I think only like a dozen new shinies have been released this year or something like that.
Yeah.
They have 758 is the possible Dex shiny. And think
And
about it, like
now
Pokemon.
they're and now with the backgrounds, they're trying to implement another layer of
Oh,
chase.
I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah,
But
it's cool, but it's like
people that do
I'm
this stuff with the lucky makes no sense to me.
like trying to get the
The shiny lucky, that makes
shiny
no sense to me
luckies. Yeah,
either. It's like, who cares? It's a thing that's only in this game. You don't have to collect it just because it's in the game. Like the only thing that truly resonates with me is the actual Pokedex and the shiny Dex. This lucky Dex, the purified Dex, the shadow Dex. I don't give a shit about that. Never have, never will. I do think it's cool to have certain things lucky. I do, especially if it's a shiny. It's pretty cool, but it's not a must. And I don't need to have every single one like that. Like, come on,
yeah.
like
And if
that's
there's if
that.
there's a shadow or something, I'll go ahead and do it just for the decks. But
Yeah,
I'm not trying either, because yeah, that's thankfully I don't have an itch to collect all the. I just want like the base shinies and that's it, because the other stuff's
well,
too
and it's
much.
I would say it's worth playing Go because it's so much easier to acquire the shinies and deposit into one of your ever Nintendo accounts. It's much easier to obtain a shiny in Go, and now that they're getting to the point where they have what is it? So they technically have 75 to 80% of the Pokemon out now. Like
That's my thing too. I went really hard on the Ultra Beast and I got all those shiny, which kind of dumb that Stackalaka and the clown weren't shiny.
but they just came
But
out. That's
yeah,
why.
but it is nice for legendaries to get legendary shinies and go and transfer them to Pokemon Home, because yeah, they're much harder to get in the games. But just
Hmm.
every shiny is exponentially harder to get in the actual games, but it's nice. Like I have a shiny Dex in the actual games, and so like these Ultra Beasts and stuff, it's nice to get those shiny and go for sure.
Well, and I see it as my shiny Dex for all Pokemon, right? At this point, it is the Pokemon game I play most. It is the Pokemon game I will no doubt play until it no longer is functions. I already know that. Like I've invested so much time into it. I will continue to play it to some level. Like if I didn't quit during the pandemic fully, I almost did, but not fully. If I didn't quit then I'm probably not ever going to quit completely. There'll be times where I play less or maybe don't open the app at all for days, but like I'll never completely stop. And it's nice because it is essentially the full decks and the full shiny decks, but since Go kind of has to slow down content because yeah, they have done other things with the game, like with routes, showcases, stuff like that, and like the party plays. Those have all been great additions in the last year. Fantastic additions. And I hope to continue seeing a couple more of those as well. But because they've done all that, the other content is shiny releases and costume shinies, and they kind of shot themselves in the foot because they've released so many costume shinies that for 99.9% of people, it is impossible to ever get even the majority of them anymore
And a lot of
because
them do
they've
kind
done
of
it.
suck. Like they put like a little crown on Pikachu, little crown on
Yeah,
Eevee. It's like, okay, you're just
yeah,
throwing a
it's
generic item
yeah,
on Pikachu. Like give them a
yeah,
unique pose or something, which they have done a
yeah.
couple of.
And then they did like I think it was in 2021. It was still technically in the middle of the pandemic. They had South Korea had like a Go Fest out there or one of the tours, whatever it was, and they had Pikachu with a special shirt. So yeah, again, during around the very end of the pandemic, that's when they had this event, right? Like, and they haven't had it since then. Like, no way in hell are you going to be able to get all this unless you're in a major city like New York City and you have a strong social media presence, social media influence presence. It's the
Or
only way
you
you
just
could have
spoof.
have the network to get.
Or you just spoof.
But nobody in the right mind would ever find that legit.
Oh yeah.
Besides the
I
person
guarantee
that
like a
that did
lot of
it,
them, and there's probably plenty on eBay that you could buy that were all spoofed, I'm sure.
I'm sure. But I think most people understand there is no merit in that.
Yeah, there's a lot that don't care though.
Yeah, but they
Or people would
probably
rather
don't.
do that than spend all the gas money and the wear on their vehicle and all that. So that was the main thing that made me quit, but that's why I only like playing casual now. It's like I think I'll play forever, but now that like a lot of the main factor back then, especially like the first year, was like keep going and keeping up like number one status, which is like what you're doing now. But it's like now that that has gone, it's like a lot of weight off the shoulders and not having to worry about getting out there every day, keeping up, or doing all these challenges. I'll have the Go Plus on when I'm driving through town, and then
That's
I'll
pretty much what I do. I'll play about 30 minutes before and after work, and then I'll have it up during work. I'll occasionally look into it, connect the plus, and if it disconnects, disconnects.
yeah.
That's pretty much how I play every day outside of specific events. And
I
then
really don't
sometimes
even
on,
play. I'll just have it on as I'm driving and not really going out of my way to play. But
you know,
so if it was like Go Fest, could people buy like if the spoofers trying to say like if a spoofer bought a ticket, could they play the event, or is there some on-site thing they're using to prevent that?
no, basically the moment you walk into the park, the stops come up. So,
And they just like your account just has to have a ticket.
mhm.
Do they even have a spot where they check your ticket, or I guess since it's all on your phone,
No,
you just walk
it's
to the
all on your
park and that's
phone. So
it?
you just walk in. Yeah, you don't see it like this one. It was more obvious where you didn't see it when you were on the opposite end of the street. Then you walked past the street, you walked into it, the stops came up.
Yeah. See, now that's something they should do. They should make it because then, like any spoofer, so then even like you said with the ticket sales, I would argue that there was probably more spoofers buying tickets than normal people. Then, if that
Uh,
was the case,
I mean, I'm sure there were some, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it was a crowded, I mean, it looked like about the same amount of people as last year without the bottleneck. So, I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, there's multiple thousands. I did notice there seemed to be, obviously, you have your hardcore show up. I did notice there was a lot of lower levels there too, like level 30s, low 40s.
yeah, and I think that's
And
going back to just like the casuals are ticking up, like I was kind of feeling.
yeah, like, I mean, that means they literally started within the last, this year,
Yeah, and
essentially.
that's a really good sign that a lot of that is Like you are seeing mid levels, low levels come back into the game.
Well,
But
they made. I saw somewhere where they had with all the three Go Fest, they averaged $300 million, or they did $300 million of economic impact that they brought into the cities. 300 million between New York, Spain, and Japan. That's actually pretty significant.
yeah, another thing they
I
could
don't know
do
what
though
numbers they.
too.
I don't know what numbers they're using. I didn't look at the data. I admit. I just read the headline and I kind of read the first few sentences of the article. So forgive me if I didn't do my due diligence. I understand. But yeah, I didn't look into the specifics. But I mean, I can believe it.
Well, another thing they could do, like surely they have a counter somewhere, or like the choke point where they know about how many people went to the actual in-person event, and then they could compare that to the actual tickets sold, and they probably have a decent idea of like how many spoofers showed up based off that number.
They know. They know. If they can look at ever since what's his name, Fleece King got his Pokemon back from being deleted from that guy that hacked his account.
Oh yeah,
If they can view they can view those details, they know. They can tell when you log in, when you log out. They know every single account. They just don't. They're not going to police it like that.
yep. They don't want you to know that they know.
I mean, I'm just saying, like they just don't care enough because ultimately, I will. It's annoying, but ultimately, most spoofers in most of the game don't have a negative impact. And I say this as somebody that hates spoofers. I do, but like nowadays with the gym game, only in really the gym game do spoofers really more or less a pain in the ass. I don't trade with known spoofers with any shinies because I see that as not right. To my knowledge, I'm not saying I haven't ever, but to my knowledge, I've never traded with somebody with this boost mod. But like there's a possibility on a couple of them. They were kind of low level players. Who knows, right? I can't say for sure,
Yeah.
but but I've done my due diligence in trying not to ever do that. But that's just because I was there on day one and I saw how detrimental spoofers were to the game when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
We're now a archaic minority. The majority of the players, especially locally, yeah, there's still a lot of players that have been playing since day one. There are, but it is now a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now like yeah, like you said, it's just part of the. It's just going to be part of it now because yeah, they're not going to do anything for it, and it does. Like I'm sure a lot of the people in those like groups that I was in, like hosting raids when I was doing remote raids, like I'm sure a lot of them probably were spoofers, but they helped me out a lot where I didn't have to drive and could just chill and do remote raids all the time.
I mean, I'm sure. Like I said, I'm sure there are spoofers that were there. I'm just saying, anybody that like, I have a friend that does it sometimes. Who will go into the Discord groups with the raid, and he'll just post the raid, get some people, and he'll be able to quickly get a few folks in.
Mm-hmm.
And from my opinion, a lot of them are legit, but I know there's a percentage that isn't, and I don't know what percentage isn't legit. But it's impossible to tell because you're not on the other line. You really don't know unless you literally got one in New York and then the other one in LA from the same guy
Yeah.
within like an hour. But most poofers don't do that because most poofers know you need a cooldown, which is several hours not logging into your account. That
I mean, I think it's
wouldn't
only two.
trigger. Yeah, usually it's only a handful. It depends on how far you went. I don't know the exact amount anymore, but it depends on how far you went. It generally ranges from like 2 to 10 hours ish, depending on how far you've traveled. You've gone over the globe. But it's not enough to where it's like, oh, real seriously.
Yeah. I'm
You
pretty
know,
sure
it's it.
according to that video, it's only two, and like he would catch something, and then if he found something else, he would just wait 2 hours, catch it, and yeah, surely they can track that. But The physical game cooldown, the max it goes to is only 2 hours apparently.
Well, if you're literally are across the world within 2 hours, then that literally is impossible unless you spoofed.
Well, yeah, but like the
You know,
end
so I
game
mean, if but
timer, like you can according to that you could catch something in New York and then spoof to Japan and then wait like 2 hours 1 minute and you could catch something in Japan without the cooldown. So it's just a system that I don't know, they need to work on. But it
well,
really
it's
surprises me with the Go Fest that they didn't have something to limit that.
well, I mean, it's been like that every year it's a little different. Like this year, they've gone the cheapest. I feel like in years past, they handed out the Pikachu headband for free to anybody who wanted it. This year, they now made it to where it was a reward that you won from the tents, from the team tents.
Ooh.
Yeah. So to keep in mind, the first year, the second and third year, so like 2018, 2019, they were handing out medals. Or it was or it was 2018, I think it was. Like I have a medal, a Pokemon Go medal, um, that they handed out. They obviously stopped doing that because that thing probably cost them $20 to like make. I'm sure
Yeah.
they were pretty, maybe not 20, but they were pretty nice. And I mean, it went from that to keychains to eventually it turned into just this. So like I feel like every year they are getting a little bit cheaper, but this year there was more staff.
Mm, gotcha.
So yeah, I mean I would don't know what to expect. I might go to the merch line because it was actually pretty small this year, which I don't know what that means. The only reason why I would go there is potentially because apparently I didn't go there, but apparently my friend said they have a shirt from like every Safari Zone and every Go Fest back to, like the third one. And I think I only have it back to the third one, like the Go Fest shirts. I've been buying them now every year,
That's pretty cool.
and yeah, just because it's now become like, oh, that's one of my things to be able to get is like a Go Fest shirt every single year. I don't even know where the hell they're all at, honestly, at this point. But
Yeah. Well, sounds like it was a pretty cool experience. That's the only thing that's like I was kind of wondering is like for the spoofing, but yeah, if they don't even have a way to regulate that from the spoofers, that's just very strange.
I mean, I've gone, as you know, besides the pandemic years, we've gone to every local one besides the first one. Because the first one, they didn't really give you any notice. It was like a 2 week heads up or some shit like that. I was like, oh, by the way, it's gonna be in Chicago, Pokemon Go Fest. And then yeah, I mean that was 2017, and I'm glad I didn't go because it was a shit show. But yeah, besides that, I mean nobody could really play, so it's not like you really remember much. But like I've gone to everyone since then, and it's become kind of a thing. And you know, I know next year might be in New York. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to the 2026 one, the 10-year anniversary. It's getting closer than ever. I think they're going to go balls to the wall. They're going to do potentially at GoFest. I could see them doing something crazy. I could see them having all these events, all these costumes that they've had in years past. I could see them all being spawning.
Yeah, just have them all come back.
It'd be nuts, but that's what I think that they should do. I could also see them just releasing all the shiny unknowns in 2026 if they haven't already, and just had every unknown spawn.
How do you like the habitats? Like, do you like the habitat system, or do you think they would benefit just from doing it all? I feel like I like
Well,
it, but like from a playing perspective, it'd be better just to do them all. But
the idea. So this is where they really went cheap too. So in years past, they had like displays of that area, like a ghostly. Like in this year, it was very very plain for their displays. This is what I mean by that. Like they got cheaper. So as you would go into like the habitat, you knew you were in the habitat, right? Because there would be displays all over the place. So it's kind of cool. It was like you're playing. They had music. They had, there was these Pokemon in this event. You had to go here, and you had to. And I like that aspect of habitat, and they do the quests associated with it. So you got to actually walk and explore the area. So I do like the attempt, but it feels like this year they went cheaper in that regard, and there wasn't a clear distinction on where I'm like, oh, you're in this new area.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So I mean, it's cool. They had the Pikachu blow up. They had the Charizard blow up, which I got photos of. They had a lot of cool photo areas that you could do this year, which I thought was cool. They made it a little more official because of that. That is pretty cool, but it's starting to feel more like an actual, almost corporate event, compared to the small time that it used to be. I don't know. It's just
Or
it feels
maybe their licensing and their decorations are kind of limited by copyrights and Pokemon corporate BS, but you figure they'd be
maybe that
more on board
the
with
my
that though.
it seemed very plain and basic. From that's just what I thought, and I thought that was one of the charms that previous Go Fest had, was the clear areas that you were in. Like, oh, I'm in this habitat. I'm in the spooky woods habitat, and then they'd have the music playing in that area. I thought it was pretty cool because of that, but I didn't really notice as much of that this year.
Or it's probably, the more, yeah, the more players that go and the bigger it gets, it's probably hard to make the habitats that big, but at
Well,
least make like a little entrance area.
exactly. Have somewhere like that's what they've done in years past too. Was they would have like one hut, and I'm sure it costs a bunch of money to either move that or create that, so they stopped doing it. They're probably like, it costs thousands of dollars to get it set up, to get it moved, whatever, and they didn't feel like doing it. And it feels like it lost some of the charm because of that. And that's something I wish they would bring back going forward. I just feel like it's starting to feel more like you're just playing Go. Yeah, it's a Go Fest, right? But it's starting to feel very much more like you're just playing Go with a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Just in one park.
yeah, whereas it used to feel like you were actually going playing for Go Fest, and it's starting to. It is cool. There is still some cool things that Go Fest offers with the stops, but like it's starting to just kind of lose its charm a little bit for me, anyways.
Yeah.
Still fun. It's still worth going to. I mean, just the city gameplay alone was worth it.
Yeah, and
And
you do
obviously,
go
like,
to one every year, so
yeah,
that's it too. Like,
yeah.
could be
I
just
mean, it
because you
is.
went every year.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you right now, I also want to get the all the shiny unknowns. I have 19. I think 24 are available, and the ones I'm missing is a C, which was for 2020 Go Fest, which I couldn't get because like almost nobody got it because it was only available for like one of the Go Fest tours in 2020 when almost no one was playing. And
Yeah.
then a few other ones were in the Las Vegas tour. I think uh, it was J, X, and Q maybe. I don't know. There was some that was released in Las Vegas where that ended up being a shit show too. But there was like three shinies that were released during that. And honestly, Las Vegas can be pretty cheap if you go out there. Same with Denver. If they have like one of those go tours in Las Vegas or um, in Denver, I might fly out there
Yeah.
just because it'll be pretty cheap, and I could go to New York too. And honestly, my friend lives out in Denver. I haven't seen him, so it's like it'd be an excuse for me to go out there and I'd be able to save one. Honestly, a little bit hotel, but like it'd be worth to go out there and like the whole thing with the screens, with the backgrounds, with the city is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Like certain ones in person only, you would get the backgrounds of the city background of like New York, and they changed it. Last year included the Empire State Building. This year was the famous shot from Dumbo with the Brooklyn Bridge and the One World Tower.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's yeah, so that one is pretty cool. And I ended up getting like 12 of those. Those are starting to be like actual mementos you get from GoFest, and you can get them both in city and obviously at GoFest itself.
So then they have the Ultra Wormhole, and that was like the one released to everybody, but the city
Yeah,
ones were
they're
GoFest
GoFest
exclusives.
or tours exclusive because apparently they did ones when LA had a tour.
Gotcha.
So one showed me of the city skyline of LA. I was like, that's pretty cool. See, those are pretty unique, and those are like actual mementos from the day. Other than I have to look at the date for like my OG Go Fest ones. I have to actually look at the date. Like, oh, that looks like that was at Go Fest.
Yeah.
Now it's like I love how one they say it was from Go Fest, but two, you know it because you got the background from it. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like
stuff
they
like that
have.
would be cool. Like not to collect, but just like a little memento.
Hmm.
But yeah, sounds like a pretty good time.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up to close it out. We basically saw the UN tour, or we went to the UN, rode the ferry a little bit. The UN tour was pretty neat. It's a little bit older than I thought, and it's kind of being broke down a little bit. I took some photos of like the chairs there because they're getting worn out. Um, I just in the decor screams 1970s. But anyways, I just thought that was cool. But anyway, it was fun. I think I walked like 110 kilometers. I was beat to shit. Um, yeah, it was it. I'm excited for the next year as well, but at the same time, let's please hope it's in August, like mid-August, and not the dead of summer.
I mean, August is a lot
It
of
can be,
times the
but
hottest.
usually in New York though, if it's mid-August, as you have late August, it kind of cools down.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still a possibility. The reason why they probably did this is because the Olympics.
Yeah, probably.
That's why they did it the way that they did it. Well, the Olympics won't be around next year, so
Yep, it's interesting. But yeah, I guess we should wrap it up there. Went a little
yeah, it's
longer
been
than we
going.
thought. So,
Yeah,
but nice to see all the insights and the, the do's and don'ts or positives and negatives.
yeah.
But yep, I guess we will call it there, y'all. Thanks
If you're
for.
still listening,
Yeah, do we need to give them a code word?
if you made it this far,
We appreciate you. That's all. You're
yeah,
not gonna get
because
nothing
I know
special. So
it's Go, and not everybody's really into it, especially about Go Fest or anything like that. But yeah, this one there's not a whole lot going on right now, and well, we both just had Go Fest, so it was pretty fun.
yep. All right, y'all. We'll leave you there, and we will see you in the next one. See ya.
Peace.